Hey guys, welcome to the 10th episode of the Sling Den. I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm full up with this horrible flu-y, coldy kind of thing, so I sound a bit strange. I might be sniffling and coughing and sneezing and all that great stuff that comes with, the common cold, but I've got myself a Lemsip. I'm not sure if you guys get that over in the States, but it's like this lemony, nasty drink. It tastes like cat pee, but it does the job. Anyway, enough about the cat pee. My next guest is slightly different from the other guests. I've had some of the best shooters in the world on. I've had some very experienced shooters that have been shooting for many, many years, some slingshot makers. But today, I've got someone with a little bit of a different story. He's fairly new to shooting. However, he is taking the YouTube community by storm because of his very powerful story. Without further ado, let's get my next guest on, and that is Pete from Surviving This Cruel World. How you doing, Pete?
Good, Ben. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to have you on, man. It's been a very quick ride for you, I guess we should say. You're new on the scene, but a lot of people are talking about you. But for the guys that haven't heard of you, just quickly introduce yourself and let us know who you are exactly.
Yeah, well, I'm a total newbie to the sport. I never got to shoot slingshots as a kid that much because of some very restrictive upbringing. So I didn't discover slingshots until the ripe old age of 62. And that was just back in April of this year. But I just, been watching a lot of the YouTube videos and channels. And so I decided, if I'm going to learn how to do this, why don't I document the whole process? And maybe somebody else that's trying to learn might be able to pick up a hint or two here or there.
And that's such a great thing to do, really, because, I wish I thought of that at the beginning, because people forget about a lot of the things that happen at the beginning of your journey and some of the things that, if you're documenting it, you're not missing a beat because you're capturing every little thing, which is, like I said, it's a great idea. What was your perception of slingshots? Obviously, you said was it 62? So in all those years, what was your perception of slingshots prior to you starting shooting?
Well, like I said, as a kid, we were taught, to avoid slingshots. I grew up in a religious cult, and we were taught that any type of weapon, including slingshots, were sinful and to be avoided because if you used one, you were going to go to hell. So being as I was a child, being indoctrinated into this mindset, I was never interested, even after I left that cult, like 40 years went by and I still just didn't have the curiosity to pick up a slingshot until I was binge watching the TV show Alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Zach Fowler using a slingshot in one of the episodes. And I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. And then I found out he had a YouTube channel. And once I saw him light a match with a slingshot, it was all over for me. So that's where it all began.
Is that where you decided to purchase your first slingshot after watching the YouTube
channel?
Absolutely.
Because even as a kid, you kind of looked at slingshots as a toy.
Mm-hmm.
And, at 62 years old, I'm not looking for new toys to play with. But when I saw how precise he could be, and then I started seeing like some of the channels like Gamekeeper John and Catapult Carnage, where they're actually hunting, small game with slingshots. And I'm like, with the way things are going in America, I might need to supplement my grocery bill. So this looks like it could be a solution to a lot of problems.
So obviously you mentioned that, growing up in the religious cult and, not being able to kind of have a slingshot because it was deemed kind of sinful and as a weapon.
Right.
What have you done over the years? Obviously, is any age is a great age to start shooting. But what have you done over the years then? What age did you kind of leave that cult and kind of start exploring new things?
I left the cult in my early 20s. And then shortly after I left the cult, I ended up getting married, raised a family. So I spent all my time, working for enjoyment. I was a musician. I played primarily bass, although I do play a little guitar and a little keyboards. I sing. I'm a songwriter. So, I would go to work during the week, and on weekends I would play in bars and pubs and stuff. Um, when the music thing kind of went away, I actually got into independent professional wrestling, which was a lot of fun, but it was brutal on the body,
Uh-huh.
you know. And then 2010, my health kind of took a nosedive. So my range of activities dwindled considerably. And that's another beautiful thing about Slingshot. Even in the physical shape I'm in, it's something I can do,
Mhm.
and not only that, but there are signs that I might be able to actually achieve some level of proficiency at it,
Uh-huh.
which is, really like if I wanted to play any other type of sport, there's no way I could even be remotely competitive, but with slingshot shooting, it's kind of a level playing field. As long as you can see and, draw a pouch back, you're good to go.
So is this one of the only things that you have found, since you've had your health problems, and I know about them, and I'm not sure if you want to touch on them just for the listeners, but obviously, you are fairly restricted. Like you said, there's not many sports and things that you can do. What else have you found other than slingshots, or has slingshots kind of been that light bulb moment where you've kind of gone, okay, I found my niche, I found my thing that's going to kind of get me through the next couple of years.
I mean, as far as physical activities, slingshots are it. Okay. It I, like when, well, 4 years ago, I had a stroke that put me on total permanent disability. And because I used to drive for a living, and now they don't let me drive a car anymore because of the neurological damage. Even like my sense of balance, here it is, for almost 5 years later, even my sense of balance is a bit iffy. To get around, I ride a three-wheel bike, just for the sake of having, the three wheels so I can, balance on it and stuff. And it's got a basket in the back, so I do my grocery shopping. It gave me my level of independence back, so I can go to my doctor's appointments, I can do my shopping, I can do all my errands, so I don't have to rely on other people for rides and stuff. Yeah, I like to do things myself if I
Mhm.
can. So,
And with slingshots, would you say that you are restricted in any way, or because one of the things that we always kind of touch on is there's no right way to do it.
right.
So whether it's in terms of the grip, the slingshot you're using itself, whether it's OTT or TTF, there's no right way to do it. So have you found your own particular way of doing it? You mentioned there the balance and things like that, which it can be quite important when it comes to shooting. What have you found? What is your kind of guide to people out there who also may have certain health conditions?
Oh, for one thing, I know guys who can go outside and, for hours and shoot their slingshot, walking through the woods, hunting or whatever. Or as I think across the pond there, you guys say go on the mooch.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not an option for me. My mobility is so extremely limited. I've got a lot of arthritis in my knees and my ankles. So for me to walk, even I walk down to my mailbox, which is only like 50 yards away. By the time I get back, it's like eating Motrin like crazy. So it's But, I can go outside and do my shooting about 20 minutes, half an hour, and I come in the house and, it doesn't really bother me. And maybe later on in the day, a few hours later, I'll go out and do another short session.
Hmm.
So, you adapt. As far as the actual physical shooting of the slingshot, I haven't really found any issues yet, other than, and this is kind of goofy, but I'm a short draw shooter because that's all the videos I saw. That's how they say beginners should start. But I see a lot of the top shooters all shoot long draw. So just out of curiosity's sake, I went to do a long draw, and it was like my body stopped me from bringing my hand back behind my ear.
Right.
And the only thing I could is sometimes, if you have a really bad injury, your body will not let you use that portion of the body.
Hmm.
So what I'm thinking is, because of the neurological damage I have, the body is saying, no, you're not going to put a high-speed metal projectile behind your head. You know, sometimes you have to listen to your body.
That's
You
true.
know,
You know,
so
it's go on.
where I'm new to it, I'm happy shooting the short draw, and maybe somewhere down the line, it'll, maybe as my body gets more confident in the shooting and used to the repetition of it and the fundamentals are all set, maybe then it'll ease up a little, and I could do the long draw. I think
Well,
it would be fun.
I've seen some of your shooting, and for the short period of time that you've been shooting, you're fairly accurate. So I wouldn't be disheartened by the fact that you're not shooting long draw. I mean, I don't even shoot long draw. However, I would definitely say that's more of a stateside thing. For the majority of the people here in the UK, everybody's short draw. So it is something that I want to try also. I've kind of tried a little bit further pass with the bands, having
Yeah.
the anchor on my cheek. I tried that the other day, but if something works, I'm very reluctant to change, which I've mentioned many times. But
Oh, exactly.
um, in terms of equipment, then, so you said that it was Zachary Fowler on a loan that you watched. Um, was it his Sparrow that you bought, or what was
Oh
your
yeah,
first slingshot? Let's get
my
into
fir-
that. What was your first slingshot?
my first slingshot was the Sparrow. Because I saw some of the videos and how accurate he was with it, and I'm like, well, heck, and it's also the cheapest one that Simple Shot sells, which is, I'm not a big dollar operation because I'm living on a disability income. So yeah, it was like, yeah, all right, I'll get the Sparrow. And I started shooting it, and the thing is I wasn't very accurate at all with it. And when I did hit the target, it was more luck than anything else.
Hmm.
It wasn't until I ended up, my son, my oldest son, for my birthday, gave me a gift certificate to Simple Shot,
Nice.
and I got an Axiom Ocularis and a couple of band sets and stuff like that. So when I got the Axiom Ocularis, my accuracy just seemed to jump all of a sudden. And I'm like, all right, so maybe the slingshot makes a difference, or, because I've heard people say that the frame doesn't really make a difference. I mean, you can be accurate with a natural fork, so, uh, but what I have found out is that it's the width of the forks that makes the difference,
Hmm.
and it can affect your anchor point and everything. And when I discovered that, it's like, the Sparrow has a very narrow fork. It's only like, I think, 83 millimeters,
Hmm.
whereas the Axiom is 100. So obviously, I'm the type of shooter that needs that wider fork. You
And I
know,
think, for beginners, it can be overwhelming because there's a lot of information on there. When we talk about things like
right?
fork widths, there's different tapers to bands, which, can make a difference sometimes. The type of ammo you're using, needing it to match the bands, which I'm sure you're aware of by now. But I'm exactly the same. So if I'm using a smaller fork width, I tend to go way high.
Yeah,
So my sweet spot is about that 100. So like the Scout X, the PPMG, they're the ones I'm most accurate with. Um, but I've recently started shooting the smallers. The Unifox is 87. I've got a 90, which is the Bulbul Aggro. So I've started shooting them because I want to be able to be accurate with multiple frames. But
right,
it's definitely true in what you're saying that frames can make a difference. A lot of people say that if you're accurate, then you'll be able to be accurate with anything, which I think is true. But I mean, I've not been shooting for sort of 5-10 years like some people. I mean, I had Chuck and Steel on the last episode, which I'm pretty sure you can pick up any frame and you can be dead accurate with it. But that just goes down to years and years of experience and knowing what to do with certain frames. So I'm still learning a lot about what frames and tapers and bands can do. And I'm now in a place where I'm trying loads and loads of different things rather than just stick to one thing that works, because I find the more you try and change things up, the more you'll learn and the more information you'll absorb. Um,
right.
what is that like for you? Are you kind of at the moment, have you found something that works for you, or are you still trying to kind of change things up and find your sweet spot?
Well, I saw one video. Don't remember offhand who it was. It might have actually been Nathan Masters, but in the video he said when you're starting out, you want to be consistent. You want to use the same frame, the same bands, the same pouch, shoot the same ammo, so that you can get your fundamentals down and be consistent with that setup. Once you learn the fundamentals and you get consistent with the fundamentals, then you can start expanding out into different things. So as of today, I'm what, three March, yeah, let's see, May, June, July. Yeah, so 3 months into the journey. I've only shot three different frames: the Sparrow, the Axiom Ocularis, and the Scout LT. I've only shot two types of latex, both simple shot. One is the 0.7, one is the 0.4. And the pouches are, of course, are all simple shot. So I haven't got a wide variety of stuff that I'm based on. I'm just trying to hit that target as consistently as I can. You know, what I've noticed, because I record myself when I'm shooting, I've always used video as a way of, critiquing myself. And when I'm shooting, I noticed a lot that I would drop my elbow.
Hmm.
So I worked on, keeping the elbow up, and that helps improve my accuracy. There are other things that, you notice in a video that you don't consciously think of while you're shooting. So it does help to, do the video thing while you're practicing.
And I
And
think,
yeah,
go ahead.
that's it. No, you go. Yeah,
I was going to say, it's great to get a perspective from someone who's quite new to shooting, because when I ask people about, what advice would they give to beginners, these are usually experienced shooters who are perhaps not in that moment anymore. They're past the
right,
beginner stage. They're probably past the intermediate stage, and they're near on experts. So I think sometimes it's quite hard for them to kind of go back. And although their advice is fantastic, um, that's one that I've not heard from any of them, is to actually record yourself shooting. It's a very good point because you can't actually see what you're doing. If you're like this, you can kind of feel where you are, but
right.
you're not seeing it. So that's a great point. What else have you found? And it may have been advice from others from other videos that you've seen. But what would you say has been the best kind of tips or things that you figured, other than the video? What sort of things have helped you over the last couple of months, help you become a bit more accurate?
Um, a lot of the experienced shooters use the cliche, aim small, miss small. And I was like, yeah, that's all well and good, but if I can't hit a can, why would I want to be aiming at something small? But then, the more you hear it, the more I think Fowler probably explained it the best in his video. He's like, if you're shooting at a can, he's like, you don't just shoot at the can. He's like, you pick a letter on the can, to shoot at. And he's like, I go even further. I pick the atom on the can that I want to, split,
Mm.
and it's like, so it's all about focus. And, Nathan Masters said the same thing, aim small, miss small. And when I first heard that phrase, I kind of chuckled because that was similar to the advice I gave my kids when they were growing up when it came to like schoolyard fights. I
Mhm.
said, always aim for the nose because that way, if you miss, you're going to hit something,
Mhm.
and that's true. If you aim for a small target, even if you miss it, you're going to, at least be in the vicinity.
It's a great point. I think, one of the other things that we kind of have to consider, when we're a new shooter is also about having fun. And I suppose if you've got a 25 millimeter spinner out there and you're trying to aim small for that, the chances of you hitting it as a new shooter is quite slim. So you don't want to be out there shooting 50, 100
Right.
shots at this thing and not hitting anything. So, I remember back when I started shooting, and like you said, I wasn't even hitting cans. So I think you have got to have an element of fun there. So,
Yep.
I don't think people can be too hard on themselves and thinking, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that. But yeah, I mean, that is a great point. And I remember watching that exact same video where he's kind of saying that you have to aim for a certain point on the can.
Right.
Um, at least then, if you hit the can, you're still hitting something, you're making a noise, and, you're still developing your accuracy. What do you think of shooting paper? Because I've heard you touch on that once or twice, in some of the other videos that you've put. What have you made of that so far?
Look, shooting paper is not exactly fun, but
Hmm.
it is an extremely important tool. Anytime if I switch from one frame to another, I shoot paper. If I change the bands, even if I'm using the same taper and all that, but if I'm just changing one band set to another, I shoot paper. Any type of change. I recently just switched ammo. I went from 6 millimeter up to 8.5. You shoot paper
Hmm.
because what paper, see, if you're shooting at a spinner, it's kind of like a pass fail test. You either hit it or you don't. If you've got really good eyesight, you can, track your shot. But me, I don't have good anything. So I rely on paper to tell me where my shots are hitting. Now, if you've got a group, but it's all like up and to the left, or, you know, it's online, but it's to the right, well, then you're shooting consistent, and that's a good thing. You just have to zero in to the target. If you're shooting all over the place, then you're doing something wrong because, your shots shouldn't be all over the place.
I think that was one of the videos that I watched that really clicked with me when I first started shooting paper. I think it was Chris from Catapult Carnage, and he basically said exactly the same thing as you did there. If you're way off, but they're all grouped in the right place,
Yep.
then that's great. That is pretty much what you want, because then you just need to
Right.
make a couple of minor adjustments, and you do that, and you're going to be accurate, because it just goes to show that you're consistent. However, if you're here, and here, then you pretty much have to strip yourself back down to the basics and go, okay, I need to kind of go through every single thing, whether it be my stance,
Right.
whether it be my, the way I'm holding the frame, whether it's my anchor, the elbow, the head tilt. There's many things you have to then look at. But if you're kind of grouping well, you're pretty much there. You just need to make a few adjustments.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I've seen you say some things in your videos which, I can quite confidently say at my point in shooting, so if I was 3, 4 months down the line, I would never have had this knowledge. And it's great that you're documenting all this. So what gave you that idea? What was it about creating a YouTube channel that made you think, yeah, this is what I'm going to do? Because for me, I've done it because it's an added extra to everything that I enjoy. Slingshots. I like making my own
Right.
bands. I like shooting, whether it be hunting, cans, spinners, challenges that I'm doing with the juggernauts. So I want to kind of get myself into all these different things. So what was it about you that kind of thought, I want to make a channel and I want to document my journey?
Well, I've been on YouTube for little over 4 years now. I started off on YouTube as a music video reactor.
Okay.
And then over the years, the channel has changed. For the last year and a half or so, it's actually been a very serious channel about religious cults, ironically enough, and, recovering from them. So it's like I expose the teachings of various cults and blah, blah, blah. But that's a very serious topic and it takes a lot of heavy research. And after a little over a year, I just kind of like mentally got burnt out on it. Um, I discovered the slingshots and I was like, I'm going to start a second channel and it's, just going to be for fun, just for doing the slingshots. And when I first decided to do the channel, I had no idea what type of content I was going to put on it. So I think my first video was I just set up a camera at my homemade catch box that I had, and you just see the ball mostly flying by the spinner. A few of them caught the spinner. And that was my first video. And I think I titled it like testing my DIY catch box or something like that. But and then the first, half dozen videos or so, we're just kind of trying different things, see what people responded to. And then I came up with this idea where, I'm documenting my journey. Why don't I do kind of like a video diary? So I've done 2 episodes now. And what I do is like, there's myself as me, and I pretend that I took a video course and I have a fictitious instructor in the video. And so I, mention a subject about something I learned, and then I'll show clips of the instructor, doing his bit. And, it kind of, what I'm doing is I'm giving information, okay, like here's what I learned, legitimately. Having the instructor, it's kind of a little bit of comedy, so it makes it a bit entertaining. And then, that way, you got to give viewers a reason to tune in. So I'm, try to give them a little bit of value with the information, try to give them a little entertainment with, the other character. And then in this most recent video that I just posted yesterday, it's like I was talking about how, in the course, they introduced us to bands, to latex. And of course, the instructor had his thing to say. But then I came right back to, I've watched some videos on YouTube that really, helped me out. And I, mentioned like 3 videos that I had actually seen. One of them was ATO, which I believe was
Mhm.
your first guest you
It
ever
was,
had.
yeah. Shout out
And
ATO.
yeah, I shouted out ATO. I shouted out Mikey Paul, and I shouted out Taking Shots.
Mm.
Because the Taking Shots video was actually really cool for me personally. Because the only tapers I've ever shot were the stock tapers that I got from Simple Shot bands. I didn't even know what the tapers were. I never looked at it, to see what they were. So I didn't know what I was shooting. I just
Mhm.
take it out of the package, put it on the slingshot, and shoot it. But I've been wanting to get into cutting my own bands. And I've been wanting to, learn tapers and stuff, but it is so overwhelming. When you're
Hmm.
a newbie and you start trying to open that can of worms, you can really end up with paralysis by analysis. You get to a point where there's just so much you just freeze. So I'm watching the taking shots video, and he showed how he does his tying technique, and even that I learned quite a bit from. Learned a lot of mistakes that I was making the first time I did it. Then he went outside to, try it out. And it was a new taper that, he hadn't really worked with a lot. So he took like 2 shots at a can, and then he says, it doesn't destroy a can as good as 20 to 12 does. And I was like, Eureka, 20 to 12. That's what I want. I want to destroy cans. So I sat down and made myself a set of 20 to 12 bands. And I used tips that I got from ATO, because he talked about always err on the side of tightness when it comes to knot. Because I love his videos because he explains things so well, and he'll demonstrate, he'll show you, oh, look how this knot, and if you see you pull and how the knot is sliding, and it's, he's meticulous about the detail that he goes into.
I like to think of him as like the scientist of the slingshot
Oh,
world. He
he
goes into so
absolutely
much
is a
depth
great
and
teacher.
the whys and whats and all
Yep.
these great things. So I know what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Such a good mind for slingshots. But
Well,
go
it's
ahead.
like he's got a question, and he uses the scientific method. Okay, I have this theory, and then he'll try to do experiments to either prove it or disprove it. And I love his stuff. I was drawn to his stuff, right from the very beginning.
I
So,
think when it comes to slingshot, I think all these channels out here, and I mentioned this in the last video, but there's so much information out there for new shooters that you'll always pick things up. So I've got all this kind of knowledge in my head, but it's not my own knowledge. It's stuff that people have given me. And it doesn't matter whether they're, short draw shooters, long draw shooters, OTT, TTF, all this, these guys doing the bands. It doesn't matter. This knowledge that I've kind of got up here is thanks to them. And I've watched, I could sit here for probably about an hour just naming off all these great guys.
oh yeah,
And a lot of them I've had on the Sling Den, which I'm very happy to have had because, again, it's an extra bit of knowledge that I've got from them. But there's no better time, I don't think, for a beginner to get into shooting because of all these great guys. You've got everything. You've got knowledge. You've got humor. You've got entertainment. You've got these inspirational videos where you're seeing people shoot and you think, I want to be as good as that. There's so much out there for people to get out into the hobby now. Is that something that you found?
oh man, um, I like I'm nobody. I'm just a 62-year-old guy that lives in a little 1-bedroom apartment out in the corner of the woods, and even my YouTube channel that I've had for 4 years only has like 5,000 subscribers. I mean, I have a small subscriber base. They're a very loyal bunch, but it's a small. So I'm no Mr. Beast where I've got millions and millions of views and this and that, the other thing. So for me to come out and I posted my first video May 2nd, and like within 2 months, I see, Chuck and Steele on a live stream, do some shooting and stuff. And then at the end, he says, guys, I want to talk to you. He's like, I saw this channel, this guy surviving this cruel world. He's like, and something about the guy really struck me. He's like, I want to put together a care package for him. And that blew me away. Like, they don't know me from a hole in the wall. They don't know nothing about me. I At that point, I don't even think I had 10 videos up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why? You know, I just like I don't even know why I'm on your show, Ben. You know, look at the list you got of guys you've had. You know, ATO Check and Still Mikey. You know, Cam Vandal. You know, man, and then it's like when you first asked me to be on the show, all I could think of was the old Sesame Street song. One of these things is not like the others. You know, I'm like, what the heck?
And I think what it is, I think we'll touch on the community in a little bit, but I think I think the biggest and boldest statement that we can make is that slingshots is for everybody.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and I think hearing of your background, your kind of childhood growing up, and the health problems you've had, I think you're a prime example that it can be for anybody. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're from, what you can and can't do. It's inclusive for everybody. And I think that's what your channel kind of highlights is it doesn't matter who you are, you can do it. And as I was saying earlier, is that little bit of inspiration that you don't have to be, fully able to do absolutely everything. If you can get outdoors and you can shoot, you can enjoy something and you can be part of this great community. And I think that's what resonates with a lot of people. And I think a lot of people in the community have kind of seen that with you. And that was my main reason for having you on is I always want to bring positivity into this community. And you're definitely one of those people that brings positivity. Um, Touching on your older kind of channel, is that still going?
Yeah.
And what are the differences between the two channels? So obviously you've got quite a few more subscribers to your old channel, probably because it's a lot older and you've had a lot more videos. But
Right.
what are the biggest differences you've noticed so far between that channel and this channel?
Oh, well, I mean, first off, the topic, like the slingshot is an activity, and we've got a community of people that participate in the activity. And everybody here is, we're all on the same quest. We're all trying to get better. Like my son asked me, well, Dad, where do you want to end up with slingshots? And I'm like, I don't want to be the best. I just want to be the best that I can be. And I understand there are limitations to that. Like I recently saw a video of Chuck and Steele. That guy's amazing. Guy shot a baby aspirin off of a light bulb. Okay. I saw that and I'm like, I would be lucky to hit the light bulb. You know? Never mind picking off a baby aspirin off of the light bulb. So that's something to strike. Well, here's the thing. I see that and I automatically know I'm never going to be able to do that. But I know it can be done because
Hmm.
I saw it. And so that's something that gives me the motivation to just try to get a little bit better. So, I started off shooting at an 80 millimeter spinner. And when I got to the point where I was hitting that 80% of the time, I moved down to a 60, millimeter spinner. And to be honest, on a good day, I'm probably between 50 and 60% on that. But, I'm getting there because when I first shot at it, I was only about 25, 30%. And that's what it's all about. You incrementally just try to get a little bit better, a little bit better. And it's not all going to be like an avalanche or
Hmm.
one day you're struggling to hit an 80 and then all of a sudden you're shooting baby aspirin off a light bulb. That's not how it works. So you got to be willing to put the work in. You have so much of it is mindset.
Hmm.
Nathan Masters said that. He's like, anybody can learn the fundamentals, anybody can learn the mechanics, and that'll get you to a point where you can shoot cans pretty easily. He said, but to get to the point where you're shooting tiny spinners, that's all up here.
Hmm.
It's not physical. That's all up here. And that, because of the stroke, this up here doesn't work like it should. So um, one of the biggest issues I had, immediately after the stroke was I kept walking into doorways. Right, like I would go to walk through a door frame, I'll walk you right into the frame. And I asked my neurologist, "What the hell's going on?" And she said that when you see an object, when you see that door frame, your eye is like a camera lens, and it sends the image to your brain. Your brain processes the image and then sends the message to the rest of your body. Walk through the door frame. It says, but your brain is damaged. So the message that it sends is a little bit askew.
Right.
So although you think that you're walking through the door frame, you're right into the wall every time. And that messed me up so bad because over the years, you get injuries, but it's your brain that, takes over.
Uh-huh.
You sprain an ankle, your brain tells you put more weight on the other leg.
Uh-huh.
Your brain is what helped you compensate for injuries. But when your brain is the thing that's injured, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the challenge that I had, and still have. But I'm learning to deal with it. Like when I shoot, you know, I do have trouble like holding my frame still. Okay, so at first I would sit there and I try to hold it still. Even if I could just get it still for that split second where I could release. But that's just not happening. And some days it's worse than others. There
Mm-hmm.
are actually days where I'll twitch. But what I've learned to do to adapt is, while the hand is wavering, you just kind of like see the direction it's going in, anticipate when it's going to cross the target, and then just kind of release. It's all a matter of timing.
And that's what we were saying earlier. There's no right way to do it, and that just sounds
Yeah.
like you're doing what you need to do to be accurate, which is the
Right.
main thing. Is the most important thing is finding a way to be accurate. And it
Yeah.
seems like like for example, myself, I don't have that issue, but I can definitely see how that can work. Now that you've explained it, and I think, just touching on what we were saying about, we look at these guys like Chuck and Steele, and these guys who are super super accurate and they're doing these trick shots. I think at the beginning, I found it quite disheartening. Whether I was watching, Chris from Catapult Carnage, and I've recently seen him at the World Championships, and I think I'll never be that good. I could never do, especially in front of people in a crowd like that, shooting that accurate.
Right.
And I think for some people, and especially myself at the beginning, I got quite disheartened. I thought, oh, I'm never going to be that good. These guys have been shooting for years and years and years and years, and I'll never be that good. But then I think it's quite easy to forget the journey that you've come on yourself. So I remember when I first started shooting and I was struggling to hit a can. Now I'm kind of aiming at 40 millimeters and trying to do my best to get super accurate with them. I've had a couple of 25s, and I think it's always important to look back at where you started
Right.
and where you are today. And it's quite easy to see these guys like Chuck and Steele who are doing these great things, and I'm pretty sure they've got this really long journey of points that they remember, of when they were this accurate, to where they are today.
Oh yeah.
So for anyone else watching, just carry on that journey, and I think you documenting your journey is also going to help a lot of people. But let's have a little chat about the community. You've mentioned the care package from the bunch of guys. You know, what was your kind of, what did you think you were walking into when you took that first step through the doors of the slingshot community? What did you think it was going to be like?
Nothing. I didn't. Wasn't expecting, any type of. I've been in various groups over the years. I'm 62 years old. I've done a lot of stuff. Very rarely, like the first 30 years of my life, I was a musician. The musician community, we get together, we have fun jamming, playing and stuff like that. And when you're in a band, you're in a tight knit group with the guys hanging out and stuff like that. But you don't see a lot of real community,
Hmm.
in there. In the wrestling business, just because of the nature of the business where you're traveling all over the place, even on the independent circuit, even if you're only doing it on weekends, you're still traveling all over the place. So you have your tight knit group of friends, but because you're in, the fraternity, so to speak, when you get to a show and you're in the locker room, all the other guys accept you just like, as part of the clan.
Hmm.
So that was the first indication I ever had that, that type of relationship can exist. So when I was never thinking of community when I got into slingshots. It's just like, look, I'm a newbie and I'm going on this journey. I'm going to record what I'm doing because maybe there's somebody else who's coming up that wants to ask a question. And, one thing my other channel has taught me is how to explain things kind of in a clear, easy to understand way. Um, because especially when you're dealing with like religion and issues like that, you've got to get your message across. You have to
Hmm.
communicate your message. So I figured, I'll explain what I've learned in my way, and maybe I'll say something that clicks with somebody that nothing else seemed to click for them.
Hmm.
And it's just, look, uh, 62 years old in bad health. I know I'm on, the last laps. So at this stage of the game, I'm not looking for glory or anything like that. I'm just looking to, create like legacy. I want to share what I know. Even if I don't know anything, I'll share what little I know because it might help somebody.
Hmm. And that is the main thing. And I think everybody tries in this community, at least. Um, like I mentioned earlier, everybody brings something a little bit different. And what I was saying about this knowledge bank that I've got up here is thanks to all these people that, and it's not just, these people on YouTube, is, guys that I've spoken to over in social media that, I've had messages back and forth with people, and, comments of people asking questions and getting them answered by other people. Everybody's willing to help. And I think it's, as you were saying, everybody's on the same journey to be better, and I think everybody wants to help each other. And that is the biggest thing for me, is everybody's here together in one lane trying to help each other. So let's
Absolutely.
just have a quick look, because you were quite surprised when I said to you the other day that we've got some fan questions.
Yeah.
um,
Who the hell wants to hear from me?
Quite a lot of people. Let's see. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 8, and I've got one more which I had yesterday, so I'll add that one as well. So we've got 9 questions to go through. But again, guys, if you're watching this and you want to ask your questions, don't be afraid. Doesn't matter who you are, what your question is. Fire them in at the Sling Den whenever I get a guess, and I'll ask you a question. So the first one is by someone that we've named a couple of times on today's episode, and that is Chuck and Steel. So I think we just kind of asked this question, but I don't know whether we'll touch on it a little bit more. When you started shooting slingshots and then your YouTube channel, did you expect the slingshot community to be what it is? And if no, why not?
Yeah, not at all. Um, even my, the different iterations of my channel previously, I got, people who are very loyal commenters and stuff like that. I never had anybody that reached out to me on a personal level, except for one guy. in the my most recent channel. You know, so for me to get this immediate response from so many people in the slingshot community really speaks volumes as to the quality of people that are in this community.
Mhm. Excellent. So Rex Spurlock Jr., as a new shooter himself, he feels like the slingshot community is more of a brotherhood. What advice would you give somebody thinking of coming into this community? And I think that's a great way to put it. And I think Can Vandal mentioned that in our episode, that it's more like a brotherhood. And since then, I've really kind of thought of it like that. So if you thought somebody was going to kind of get into shooting, um, what would your kind of advice be, and how would you explain to them what it's like being part of a community?
Well, I'll tell you, everybody, when you're first starting off, everybody's got more experience than you. So you can learn something from everybody. Like you were referring, Benji, to the store of knowledge that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the same way. Like when I get into a new hobby, I'm like a sponge. I'm voracious. I watch videos. I read, I research. So I absorb all this information. And some of it I might reject summarily. Some of it oh, that sounds interesting. But I store it all. It's all up here. And then what I've found is that as I'm experiencing more stuff, all of a sudden, like something will happen, and I'll go, wait a minute, that was wait a minute, that guy said that in this video. And it's like, now I see what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're knowledge rich, you're worth more than anybody on earth because knowledge is the key to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So the more knowledge you can absorb it. And at some point, you'll weed through what works for you, what doesn't. There's no, set in stone right and wrong in slingshots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You try things and find out what works for you. If it works for you, it's right.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the best way to put it.
You know, I've seen guys like in comments and chats who it's like, oh, you shoot TTF, oh, heathen, oh, and it's like, it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
I
There's no wrong way. There's definitely
no,
no
hey,
wrong
I started shooting OTT when I first picked up a slingshot in April, and I still can't find that ammo, and it's in my living room. I mean, so hey, I do better with TTF. Now, maybe someday I'll, become accurate with OTT, but yeah, there is no such thing as wrong.
way. Mm-hmm.
As long as that metal ball is hitting somewhere near the target, you're in the right direction.
That's it. So a lot of these questions are quite similar, so I'll just try and kind of change them slightly differently. So we're kind of going on, I'll ask it a little bit differently. Let's just say that.
All
So,
right.
what was your first impressions of us as a community? This one's by Chris Wilkes. Shout out Chris Wilkes.
Oh,
What was your first impressions of us as a community, and where did you first hear about shooting slingshots? So obviously you mentioned Fowler there. You
yeah.
stumbled upon Alone, and I think I've seen that. And then obviously his channel. Where else did you kind of hear about it? I know you mentioned growing up they were kind of banished and it wasn't, but had you seen them in stores, or had you
Oh,
seen
yeah.
them online? And
And when I was in school, I had friends who had slingshots, friends outside the church, and if I was ever at a sleepover over their house, I'd, get to sneak out in the woods and shoot their slingshot. Never any good at it. But, it was the old fashioned wrist rockets, the big
Mhm.
latex tubes with the wrist brace. And I mean, it was fun. The rock would end up somewhere near what I was shooting at, but, never hit anything. But, yeah, and it was, when I go home, my mother would say, so did you have fun over Timmy? So Oh yeah, what'd you do? Well, we rode our bikes and blah, blah, blah. You know,
Just
but
missed that part out.
yeah, you know how it is. You know, kids will be kids. You know, but you know, for Chris's question, you know, this community, it's blown me away. I never expected anything from the community, and the fact that they responded the way they have to me. And I'm not the only one. You know, they're helping
Mhm,
out some other people too, and that's just tremendous. That's it's tremendous.
mhm.
You know,
So the next one's by Paul Nichols. Can you quantify the positives Slingshot has brought into your life and any negatives you've come across? He enjoys watching YouTube channel. Keep it up.
oh, thank you. The positives are numerous. I mean, first off, I'm actually getting some physical activity. All right, you know, walk outside. You know, you shoot at 10 meters, you got to walk back and forth a few times. That's a lot more exercise than I ever got before. You
Hmm.
know, I'm well after the stroke. You know, you have to understand that after the stroke, it took me a year and a half just to learn how to walk without a cane. So the fact that, you know, I can go back and forth for the 10 meters, you know, that's cool. You know, I'm outside and I'm, you know, breathing fresh air rather than being cooped up in my apartment all the time. You know, pulling the I do notice that even, you know, my left side was my weak side after the stroke, you know, and that's the hand that I hold my frame in. And I've noticed that, you know, the strain from, you know, drawing isn't seem as bad. Of course, that might be because I'm using later bands, but you know, that's just an adaptation. You know,
Hmm.
like see Simple Shot when they give you these preset bands. So everything comes with the .7 black,
Hmm.
you know, and it's set with a pouch for 7/16 ammo. I haven't met anybody that shoots 7/16. You know, everybody shoots like 3/8. You know,
Hmm.
so I bought a set of 3/8 bands, and they're still .7, just with a slightly different taper.
Hmm.
You know, and it was still, geez, that's you know. And so when I decided to switch down to like the 6 millimeter ammo, I bought a set of the 1/4 inch bands, and it's like that's the .4, and I was like, wow, look at this stuff, you know. So, and that's where I've been since. You know,
Is, is this something that you wish you kind of got into a little bit earlier? Obviously, you know, you mentioned there was a lot of recovery to do, you know, after your stroke. But do you think that this is something that you could have picked up a little earlier, or do you think now is the
oh,
right
dude, I
time?
wish I had started this when I was a kid. You know, growing up in that cult really, really altered my life in innumerable ways. You
Hmm.
know, and not too many of them were good. So, you know, if I had a time machine and could go back to when I was 8 years old before my mother and I joined that cult, you know, I would go back and I would relive my whole life over again.
Hmm.
You know, and slingshots would be a part of it because even when I was a kid, like my brain is telling me this is a sin, this is a sin. You know, I'm going to go to hell for this, but it's like I don't care, it's fun. Yeah, you know,
You're a kid. Of
and
course, it's fun.
as humans, we're human beings are just naturally prone to want to destroy things.
Hmm.
You know, where you give a little boy a stick, he's not going to build something with it. He's going to hit something with it. You know,
Hmm.
you show him like you get a little girl on the beach and she finds this shell. She says, "Oh, look, isn't that pretty?" A little boy goes, "Wow, that's sharp. I could cut something." You know, a little girl picks up a rock, says, "Isn't that pretty?" A boy says, "Let's see how far I can throw." You know, that it's just that's what we do. You know, so yeah, slingshot. First off, it's fun. You know, secondly, it's actually a tool. Like this is something that if the circumstances required, you can feed your family with a
100%.
slingshot.
Hmm.
You know, you can't do that with a tennis racket or a golf club. or anything like that. So this is a hobby. As we said before, it's inclusive. I mean, if I can do it, you always hear this cliche in a humor type thing. If I can do it, anybody can. But dude, like that's true with me. If I can do it, anybody can do it. You got to be bound to a wheelchair to. And even then, I've seen people in wheelchairs shooting a slingshot. So, yeah, dude, anybody can do this.
Mm-hmm.
It
100%.
is anybody, not everybody's going to shoot an aspirin off a light bulb, but you don't have to. Even if it gets to the point where the zombie apocalypse happens and you got to feed your family, you only have to be able to hit a squirrel's head that big, and you can eat. So,
That's it.
that's what I aim for.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's just getting people outdoors as well. It's like
Yeah.
you see kids these days and they're inside with all their technology, and I remember when I was younger, outside playing with conkers and sticks, pretending they were guns. You don't see that anymore. So I mean, just getting outdoors these days is, that's one thing in itself. So, 100%.
Well, I grew up in a world where we didn't even have video games.
Mm-hmm.
We were always outside. Our social media, if we wanted to know what all our friends were doing, see, nowadays they just hop on Facebook. Where are my friends? When I was a kid, if you wanted to know where your friends were, you rode your bike down the street and see which yard had all the bikes piled in it.
Uh-huh.
And that's where all your friends were.
I kind of had the mixture of both because technology just started taking off when I was younger. So I still did the good old run around the corner and knock my friend's door and see if they were going to come out and, if we want to go on a bike ride or play a bit of football, soccer for you guys. And so I still had that, but then we also kind of grew up in the stage where you could play video games over the internet and stuff. So I had both worlds, but I definitely would say, being out, they're the memories that I have. I don't really remember too much about playing video games or anything that happened, but being outdoors and all
It's a
those sort of
totally
things.
different time now. Totally different time. On Saturdays, so you go to school all week. Saturday mornings, I would get up, have my breakfast. I would get on my bike and I'd leave the house. I wouldn't come back till it got dark. And when it got dark, I'd come in the house and my mother say, "Are you home?" And I'd be like, "No, I'm just getting a flashlight." And then right back out. And that's the way kids don't do that nowadays. It just doesn't happen.
It's the way it should be. But hey ho. The next question is by Sean Shag Hackleton, who says he loves your channel. He started about the same time as you and has faced similar problems being slightly disabled with arthritis. He just wants to say, keep them coming. Nice little message there. Shout out, Sean. The next one is by Josh Taylor. So he's currently unable to shoot after recent surgery. What did you do when you couldn't shoot?
Well, I didn't start shooting until after I got the ability. So, yeah, when, like I said, immediately after the stroke, I couldn't even talk.
Mm-hmm.
It took 8 months of speech therapy just to learn how to talk conversationally again. And even now, almost 5 years later, there are still certain phonetic sounds that I trip over.
Mm-hmm.
Like every now and then I'll actually bite my tongue while I'm talking.
Right.
So you'll notice that sometimes I kind of slow down my speech, and that's because I'm consciously thinking as I'm approaching those sounds that, I have to be aware of them. So yeah, it took 8 months of speech therapy, like I said, a year and a half to learn how to walk without a cane. Even the first month, I couldn't even work a computer mouse because I didn't have the hand-eye coordination to line up the pointer and, click the mouse when the pointer was where it was supposed to be. So, all those neurological problems and physical problems prevented me from ever even thinking about doing anything like that. like I haven't played my bass ever since the stroke, because up until about a year and a half ago, I couldn't even hold it.
Mm.
And although I am finally getting some of my dexterity in the fingers back, I still haven't tried playing it because it's just not a priority at this point.
Slingshots
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's easy to, use a hammer grip, or, I prefer the brace grip. It
Hmm.
just seems, I don't know, for some reason when I grab a slingshot, my fingers just naturally do that. So yeah, it's easy to hold the slingshot. Um, all my arthritis is in my lower body. It's in my knees and ankles. So far, I've been blessed that my fingers and stuff have been okay. So I can't
But I
really.
suppose, if you are recovering, at least, there's loads of slingshot content out there to keep you going.
Oh
If you
yeah,
can't shoot, at least, you can watch people shoot and keep that hunger up. So, when you are fit and ready to go back out, you're raring to go. And, you never know, you may have learned a few new things that you want to try out when you get back shooting. So speedy recovery, Josh.
yeah,
Hope you get well soon.
absolutely.
So there's a question that's been asked, kind of in a similar way. So this one's by Ethan Martin of Tennessee Slanging and my fellow countryman Andy Mond, who both kind of wants to know what drew you to slingshots, what made you choose a slingshot to get outdoors, and what has kept you shooting since.
Okay, well, seriously, the first thing that got me into slingshots, again, as I said before, was watching what Fowler could do with a slingshot. You know, as soon as I saw that, it was like, okay, if somebody can do that with a slingshot, then in an alternate universe, I might be able to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
At least it's something. Yeah, if you know something is possible, it gives you something to work for. So it's like, oh, I want to be a world champion unicorn rider. Well, I've never seen one, so that's not a realistic dream.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen somebody light a match with a slingshot, and I've seen somebody shoot a baby aspirin off a light bulb. So I know it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that, even though I've got limitations, I can keep pushing until I reach my limit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Now, as far as what was the second part of the question?
So what's kept you shooting since?
Ah, that just the strive to be the best I can be.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not there yet. I my first video, like I said, was testing out my catch box. Well, if I watch that video now, I go, man, did I suck? And it's like I've gotten a lot better since then, and that's just a short period of time. So I extrapolate that and go, if I keep doing what I'm doing, a year from now, I'm going to be pretty good. So uh, I've always been, although to look at me now, you wouldn't know it. I was always athletic. I was always competitive and always, striving to be the best that I could be. I've never ever wanted to be the best. I just always wanted to be the best I could be.
Mm-hmm.
And with slingshots, it's no different. It's just that the body that I'm using isn't quite in the shape that it used to be 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
you know? So,
So the next one, double D's. This is quite a funny one. How cold does it need to be to make the pug's eyes pop out?
I so I have a T-shirt that has a pug face on it. Okay, and it's very realistic looking, and the eyes are right up here at the breast. So if it gets cold enough, the eyes actually pop out, a little relief. Uh, I would say probably anything under 40 degrees, it starts. The pug starts to look surprised.
Okay. So the next one I have, it was sent to me yesterday, so I've not actually got it written down, but I'll just grab it very quickly. Let's have a look. So this one's from a guy named Stu, who I'm in contact with quite a lot. So he said he's a little bit late for the question, but let's get it asked. So if Pete could spend one day with a slingshot shooter or builder, who would it be and why?
Oh man, that's
Good
not a
question,
fair
Stu.
question. That's not a fair question because there's a look. I would like to spend days with a lot of them for different reasons, like Chuck and Steele, just to watch this, trick shots that he does. I'd love to spend a day with Mikey Paul Reddick because he's a cool, down to earth guy with a great sense of humor. I'd love to spend a day with Mark from ATO because him and I can relate to the way he thinks and so I think him and I would, get along really good. Even like somebody like Tennessee Slang and, dude, the guy eats grilled pizza. How can it get any better than that?
He has cool boots too. I just want to
Yeah,
shout that out.
so I
I've seen his
mean,
boots. He got badass boots.
all these guys, they're just like they're all these fascinating characters, man. I'd like to spend time with all of them.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, that is it from all our fan questions. Thank you for sending them in. There were some great ones there, as always. So this is now your chance. This is your kind of floor, just to touch on anything that you want to speak about just before we kind of finish off today.
Guys, I'm just blown away by everything that's going on. I'm overwhelmed. I never expected the response I got, and it speaks a lot about the volume of the people in this community. My channel, I don't have a lot of knowledge, but what little of it I gain, I'm going to share with people. I try to make my videos, the last two videos in particular, I try to present some information and try to make it a little entertaining, so that you have a reason to watch. People just, I hope that people watch my video. I hope it puts a smile on their face and maybe they can learn something from it, and I appreciate all you guys out there with the YouTube channels who are sharing your knowledge. It's helping people like me to learn and grow and really appreciate this hobby. It's a great community. If you're just getting into it, you picked a great group of guys to start to hang with, man.
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Hopefully everybody else that's been watching has picked up some great things from you too. If you want to look at the channel, click the link below. I'll put that there. He's got some great videos. I'm sure he's going to be bringing out a couple more videos in the near future. So get down there, click it, like it, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Can I say just one more thing? I mentioned earlier that Chuck and Steele and some of the guys are putting together a care package for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I get that, I'm going to post on my community tab like a 1 hour notice, and I'm going to open that care package cold on a live stream.
Awesome.
So that, people can see my honest goodness reaction to what's coming out of that box. Because, I've gotten a couple of hints from the guys, but they're not being too specific. So I have a feeling it's going to be a very interesting live stream.
I'm sure it'll be great. I'm
yeah.
looking forward to checking that out for sure. Everybody else watching, please check that out when that comes on. So, yeah. Perfect. There we go. Thank you very much. And I'll speak to you soon, man.
All right, man. Thank you, Benji. It's been a pleasure.
No worries at all. I'll catch you soon.
All right.
Hey guys, thanks for watching today's episode. If you like what you've seen, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really does go a long way. And please be interactive. If you see any of my posts come up with the next guest, please ask your question. I want to ask them no matter what the question is. Fire them in. I'll get them out there. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Happy shooting.